Good morning, for Telesur. I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We start off in Wales, where the summit of the NATO military alliance continues today. Friday's agenda will discuss the creation of a new rapid reaction force intended to operate in Eastern Europe. Coming on the back of the crisis in Ukraine, the force appears aimed at Russia and will be able to deploy troops within 48 hours. It comes after the alliance agreed Thursday to millions in military support for Ukraine. The U.S. and UK are also hoping to discuss an increase in military spending for NATO members. At the NATO summit, British Prime Minister David Cameron hinted that his government might take further action and could join U.S. strikes in Iraq and possibly expansion of the campaign into Syria.
And then, yes, of course, there is a role that countries like Britain and America and others can play. We're already playing that role. We're arming the Kurds. We're helping the Iraqi government. We're flying missions over Iraq. We're supplying humanitarian aid. The Americans have been taking part in airstrikes, which we support.
Despite reports of heavy shelling in the last few hours, there are hopes that the Ukrainian conflict might come to an end Friday through the ongoing peace talks. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko has announced that the Ukrainian government and the Federalist rebels are both ready for a ceasefire. The Russian government issued a 7-point proposed peace plan. The Ukrainian government also plans to release a proposal. A team from the International Monetary Fund is currently in Honduras negotiating economic policies with the Honduran government. The group will stay in the Central American country for 10 days. Some fear it could lead to austerity measures for the already poverty-stricken country. Would the Honduran government agree to such measures? Here's our correspondent Gerardo Torres.
According to experts, Honduras is about to sign a new agreement with the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. The amount that the country is about to receive is around the $160 million, and it has to be used to cover deficit. It can be used to pay part of the high indebtedness that actually is above the $5,000 million. The IMF demands for the agreement that the government reduce its public spending and its public investment. The government also will have to increase taxes and increase the bills and public services, especially in energy. This agreement could save the government from its actual crisis, but it's going to be a strong impact to the people of Honduras. Gerardo Torres, Telesur, Central America.
And thanks to Gerardo, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announced Thursday that his government will focus on eradicating extreme poverty in the country. In Venezuela, extreme poverty stands at 5.5%. That's one of the lowest in Latin America. Maduro hopes to eradicate it entirely through the construction of 1,500 socialist bases. Those bases will operate as public centers, which will provide food, health care, educational, and social services. Colombia's Senate is debating the links between politicians and paramilitary groups, including those of former President Álvaro Uribe. For what conclusions the group may reach, we go to our Colombia correspondent, Charles Parkinson.
For Progressive Senator Alirio Uribe, the upcoming Senate debate into the so-called parapolitics scandal, which revealed links between politicians and paramilitary organisations, offers an opportunity to turn the spotlight on ex-President Álvaro Uribe, who led the country at the time of the scandal and now sits in the Senate.
It's undoubtable that Álvaro Uribe Vélez was elected and re-elected with the support of paramilitary groups. And among the 60 parliamentarians that I say have been found guilty, many of them presided over political parties created between 2005 and 2006 to re-elect him president. I think Álvaro Uribe is the core of the phenomenon of paramilitarism and of the mafia state in Colombia.
More than 100 lawmakers were investigated following the original controversy that began to emerge in 2006, the majority of which were political allies of former President Álvaro Uribe. Yet many politicians remained unscathed, and today the links between political elites and paramilitary successor groups persist.
The main heads of the parapolitics structure were charged, but all the scaffolding, the mayors, the governors, city councillors, parliamentarians remain unpunished. And now they have in place the children, godchildren, cousins of these parapoliticians. So it is not a phenomenon that is over. It's a phenomenon that has undergone a whitewashing of these structures after heads of these political groups were condemned.
While Uribe cynically voted in favour of an earlier failed attempt to debate his paramilitary ties in the Senate, he has since suggested he will not take part in the debate scheduled to take place on September 18th. Whether Alvaro Uribe chooses to hide from this debate or not, it will offer greater exposure to his role in this criminal activity and could be a first step towards him facing justice. This is Charles Parkinson for Telesur in Bogota, Colombia.
And thanks to Charles. To Argentina now, where the Foreign Ministry presented a new book Thursday on the country's claim to the Malvinas Islands. Half a century ago, Argentina first raised the issue of the islands at the United Nations Special Decolonization Committee. The United Nations soon passed a resolution calling for dialogue between the two countries over the territorial dispute.
años que hay una resolución que Reino Unido no cumple.
50 years since the resolution that saw the community of nations call for a direct dialogue to resolve this conflict, and the United Kingdom still has not complied. This is what our president has always called a double standard. Some are obliged to comply with the resolutions, and then there are others that don't comply, and absolutely nothing happens.
And in the United States, over 450 people were arrested Thursday during nationwide strike by fast food workers demanding higher wages and the right to unionize. Congresswoman Gwen Moore was arrested. Congresswoman Gwen Moore was among those arrested, as I said. Protest organizers said the demonstrations were the largest to date in the campaign to change the minimum wage to $15 per hour for the nation's 4 million fast food workers. We end tonight with a huge discovery in Argentina, where scientists have found the fossil of a giant dinosaur. The 65-ton creature is thought to be the largest to have ever walked the earth. The dreadnought existed about 77 million years ago. Dreadnoughts had the largest weight of any known land animal. It was 7 times bigger than the Trex and longer than a basketball court. Despite its size, though, the dreadnought was a vegetarian. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.